It's very important to engage with Aboriginal people on this matter. They have a right to be involved in the future of this state. What we did is ensure that early on we engaged Aboriginal leaders from around the state to help us to co-design the program before we actually went out and delivered that program. So the approach that we took when we engaged with the communities was one of a respectful conversation. We were there engaging to listen to them primarily, and then we were there to share some information. So the team that we put together involved an Aboriginal person. We had a male and a female engagement officer with us. We also brought into every community that we attended technical staff, international experts that had the knowledge and the information to be able to share and impart with the Aboriginal people.
I think it's paramount that someone like myself with a background of science and engineering can help explain in much simpler terms what is going on and also allow them to form an opinion.
When we went to communities where there were language issues, we ensured that we had with us Aboriginal translators that could interpret for us. The style of the engagement that we took was very much an interactive one, so that people felt comfortable and connected to their community.
Just being able to connect with people and have conversations. People are really willing to open up about what they're worried about, what they're concerned about, what their hopes are for the state.
We went to 31 Aboriginal communities. We also went to communities or regions where there were a lot of Aboriginal people in the major population areas of South Australia. So places like Murray Bridge, Ceduna and Port Lincoln and Port Augusta. We had Aboriginal specific events in those locations to ensure that as many Aboriginal people as possible were afforded the opportunity to participate in the conversation, to understand and to share their views with us.
If it destroys our land in any way, shape or form, there's a part of our culture that's going to disappear.
There may be a little bit of a risk, but the benefits outweigh the risk, I reckon.
So in terms of the information that we were providing, it was no different to what we were providing to all of the communities that we went to. So when we engaged with the Aboriginal community, we had some very good interactions and participation. We had some very passionate people that had some very particular views that we listened to, and it was important to do that. We had some people that were very adamant that we shouldn't be doing this, and that it was important that we allowed them the time and for them to share their information. We also had some people that were quite passionate about the future for themselves, for their communities and for their children, and they were interested as to how they would be able to participate going forward. There was an important element that involved the citizens' jury, and in terms of the interactions with the Aboriginal community, we had a core group of Aboriginal people that represented the South Australian Aboriginal community, and they shared their views and their stories to the full jury of 350 South Australians to help them understand their issues, their concerns and their stories.
The Aboriginal witnesses will attempt in a very short period of time to get the message across on what they want the jurors to know and understand about the Aboriginal viewpoint on this whole issue of a nuclear waste facility.
Maralinga was a significant issue for us in the program that we designed. We knew that there would be people that we would be talking to that were impacted on by the nuclear testing that was done in the 50s. We felt it was important that we recognised that in our engagement approach, and it was certainly a very strong message that we heard within the communities that we spoke to, that there are still issues that need to be addressed.
You know, you start talking nuclear, we start thinking Maralinga. You know, and like it's come up a few times here, is that we still got a bad taste from Maralinga, and none of that stuff has really been answered. And
there were 4 key themes that we heard across the state in relation to the nuclear program. The first one that was raised and was a very strong issue was around safety. People felt there was a potential for leakage and damage to the environment. The second issue that was raised, and this is very specific to the Aboriginal communities, is in relation to the cultural impacts of burying radioactive materials into the ground.
I regard the land as sacred, and I teach my grandchildren and my family about looking after land, and I do get concerned about what we're doing in this country to the land.
The third issue is in relation to the nuclear history and obviously Maralinga. The testing that went on with the bombs in the 50s and 60s is a significant and sad issue for people. The final issue that people felt very strongly about wherever we went on the Aboriginal communities was in relation to trust in government. So there is an element of trust in how is the government going to address the issues around important matters like nuclear waste storage. One of the other key lessons really comes down to ensuring that the engagement was well designed and well thought out, but also flexible in its adaptation and in how we delivered that. It is very important that Aboriginal people are involved in these conversations.
The state government has decided that discussion should continue on a proposed nuclear waste facility. Local Aboriginal community would also be given a final right of veto on any future facility on their lands. The veto of the broader community through referendum and the veto associated with a local Aboriginal community are crucial elements in rebuilding the trust.